Scano, Ani, good morning. Thank you for your patience, everyone watching. Uh, a little bit of aftermath of this beautiful full moon we had. Uh, so maybe that's what we'll chalk that up. All that little bit of technical difficulty, and like you were saying, Alan, so we have the few minutes of grace, and so it keeps us patient, right? And so welcome and good morning, everyone. So Scano, Jody Nigasso. My name is Jody Harbour. I'm a co-founder of Grandmother's Voice. My great-grandmother was of the Cayuga Nation from the Six Nations of the Grand River Territory. And at a young age of 17, she sold the land that she inherited by her father and sold it to her brother-in-law and became assimilated into our society. And then moved on to marry and have children, and my father is her grandson, and so I carry her with me on my journey, and which is why Grandmother's Voice is called Grandmother's Voice. When I began my journey to understand my family lineage and my genealogy and where I came from, I was offered an opportunity to make a choice, a path to understand where I came from and where my ancestors were from on my father's side, which is Cayuga Nation and also Ojibwe. And on my mom's side, I'm Romanian and English, and I love all of them and what they've made me become or helped me become. But on that journey, I really wanted to discover what happened to my ancestors. I had on my family side, my dad died quite young, 52, my grandmother 42, my great grandmother 29. And from the research that I've done, I say that it was societal suicide. Our society did not have a place for my ancestors. And so my journey as Grandmother's Voice has been to seek the truth and help our society become a better place, to take care of and support not only Indigenous people who are home, this is their home, this land is their home, but for all people. And so on my journey, I've met some really amazing people, and my truth that's coming out right here, right now, Alan, is that, when I meet amazing people that come into my life that have stories and teachings, it's my responsibility that I've learned through learning from elders like you and the grandmas, that it's my responsibility to do whatever I can to share my friends and the messages. And so I welcome you here today as one of the most influential elders and people that I've ever met in my life. From a spiritual perspective, you continue to support my my path of staying grounded and trying to live my best life in harmony and being the best that I can be in this time where can be unsettling sometimes. And so I welcome you to our platform and have been really excited to begin this series with you. We've been talking about it for some time, and welcome, Nyawa.
Thank you for that beautiful introduction, Jody. I'm gonna just jump into it. We had this technical situation to set this up. It's just part of the on par in terms of 2025. Anyway, we got it done. Wapski minis is it, Mr. Temnis Nakaz? Bishudi do them, Miskunaning Donji, Treaty 2 territory. Anishinaabe, need. I said in Anishinaabe that my name is White Spotted Horse of the Lynx clan. I'm from Skowhegan First Nation of Treaty 2 and Anishinaabe. But my common name is Alan Sutherland. And it's with great honor that I was asked to do um, 30-minute segments, roughly there, of 8 sessions, and this is the first. The first is Izhaaadaa, is let's go on an earthly journey. Let's go to the very beginning. This is the first part. As we proceed, we're going to go and talk about what it is to be a human being here on Aki, with our Mother Earth. So, what I bring to this presentation is how I am represented in this world as traditional and contemporary human being. And I have introduced Anishinaabe Win because currently I work for the Southern Chiefs organization as a cultural advisor. And one of our projects is to strengthen and restore our language. We represent 32 communities, and we're in full planning now for language camps. But we want to try to have conversations in our office, in our communities, everything we do. So even I struggled because I was raised by my grandparents who felt the need for me to learn English only. But I grew up in a community that speaks the language. But when I left almost 30 years ago, I left behind that language to go into the world. Now I have an opportunity I build up through ceremonies and songs, but it's time to put it on in teachings. So I have incorporated that in my presentation. So I just wanted to apologize to the language keepers that the struggle back is not easy, but I do the best I can. After all, I'm a pitiful human being. So we're going to jump right into this. And I'm going to be saying next because I don't have access to the PowerPoint directly. And Jody is going to be my Vanna White. Thank you. So you can go. This is in partnership with the Grandmother Voices. And I had the privilege of working with the Grandmother Voices for over a year now. And our journey together is very much it's actually very beautiful, and I'm blessed to get a lot of help from the grandmothers. They're very generous, and as we move forward, we're growing together. So thank you, Grandmother Voices. Next. I said I'll be teaching about the Big Bang Theory, but not this one. Next. I'll be teaching it from an Anishinaabe perspective, but it also incorporates current science in terms of our limitation on what we know about all these things. So next. And I just wanted to say, like, I don't think you got the PowerPoint where I put in one piece at a time. So you're seeing as the overall slide. On my end, I just click away and it goes by one point at a time. But I'll start off by saying, in the beginning, like all journeys do, there's a beginning. In the beginning, there is absolutely nothing. Some call it a void. Some will call it, there was total darkness or black. Others say it was totally all white until color was introduced. But what I'm going to share with you is that it began with thought. That's the traditional teaching of it. It began with thought, and where something happened, and it begins with thought. It created a sequence of events. It became awareness meaning I am thinking about it deeply, from thought to thinking. And then it becomes awareness of self, meaning knowledge. I'm just going to move my candle here a little bit. Meaning knowledge, understanding, awareness. So from thought, awareness, to wanting a greater understanding was a sequence. And essentially it becomes Ichimanatu. It becomes that beginning of all life, meaning a loving spirit. When we say Geshi, Manitou, we say loving spirit, but Manitou started happening, spirit started happening, and it created life. Next. And then there was that kaboom, that big bang. So now this big bang is expansive. It's still expanding to this day. So it introduces now all these colors. It's creating itself. It's expanding out from thought, awareness of self, and spirit. Next. And as this is expansion, it's creating different galaxies. The universe is expanding, creating galaxies, all kinds of solar systems, all kinds of planets, all kinds of dimensions. And it's creating, as it creates, it's creating all the time. Next. And then it settles down. It settles down. It settles down as creation is happening. Next. And these are the things that we see, like with our naked eye, our telescopes, or Hubble spacecraft. Was essentially we're seeing life all around us. Next. So this is how they teach it. This is how scientists teach. There was a singularity. There was a beginning, and it created all these gases and those chemical reactions, and then things settled in a bit, and it started forming into these galaxies and planets and so forth, and that's where we are with these things. Next. So if you were to look at the expansion of the universe, and it's still growing, that we are like where we are currently, like we're just a spark of this great source. Next. So if we were to go more from the universe into these galaxies, and we get closer to where we are, then you're going to see patterns like this. Essentially, this is a cluster of 100,000 galaxies. Next. As we get closer to where we are, we're part of the Milky Way. This is our galaxy. Next. So now we're getting closer to where we are. We're getting to our solar system. This is, for the longest time, has been our point of view of what is taught to us by over the eons, over the centuries, to recently, where we just, our focus is on the 9 planets. And what is beyond that? Next. And now we call this our home, where we currently exist. We currently have this journey, and it's not just the environment around us. Over time, it was just the environment around us, until the curiosity was what would be on the other side of the mountain or beyond the valley. If you went this place, what would we find? So as humanity was starting to be curious and explore, they see themselves beyond their own personal environment, that there is other places to look at. Next. So our observational understanding is very limited. Everything else is a mystery. Like we can never, ever know all of that in this current life that we call on earth. But we do our best to come up with theories. We come up with an understanding. So our observation to all of it is very limited. However, later on in my teachings, I'll talk about how we came from the source of everything to understand that we were part of this. But when you come to this earth, you have to forget. There's a veil that comes over you. You have to forget. So this is a struggle of humanity in trying to find themselves again. Next. And this is where the traditional stories come in. Because I heard it before. I heard that in the beginning and creation happened. And so when all this was created, Manitou, Geshe Manitou or Geshe Manitou was lonely. Now for me, for the longest time was, well, that's an emotion. Is the creator, is God, the source of everything, has emotions. Well, who created everything in the first place? Of course, of course. So the creator was lonely, created all these grand, beautiful places, all in the universe, expansion, infinity. And then you got all these galaxies are forming, they're all different, and you got all these solar systems and planets, and you even got different dimensions, different frequency. And the creator was lonely. Now what? Now what? And the creator that created all this started with his thoughts, started with his awareness of thinking very deeply, and became self, wanting more knowledge, more understanding of its own creation. So that created a second blast. Next. But before this blast took place, in my when I click on the PowerPoint by different points, it shows from creation, from this all source, this light, and sometimes it's called the grand sun, the sun, the center of everything, was lonely and now wanted to explore everything. So within itself, it was already creating, but in itself created these two ways of expansion of creation. So that's where the duality comes in. That's where I guess we commonly can say was like a balance of masculine and feminine energy, duality. But to put it into a teaching, it's yin and yang. And yin and yang there's darkness, and then there's light. And darkness, there is light. And then in light, there's darkness. But it's balanced. It's balanced. That's where creation truly begins. And then when it had the means of sharing creation, then you had the second blast. This is called the spark of life. And the sparks went everywhere. It went into all these different galaxies. It became a galaxy, a spark of galaxy. It became a spark of solar systems and everything that's in it. All the planets, all of life that was forming became the spark of life. That's what that is. That's the seeds that went everywhere. Next. So closer to home, it didn't start off with this big blue planet that we currently are familiar with. It went through these six to eight stages of Earth. In the beginning, it was all fire. It's all molten. It's all it's forming itself. It was red and it was fire, and it started cooling. So along the way, as it was cooling, I got hit by an asteroid, and essentially, because back everything and out there is chaos anyway. So this created a sequence of another event, which eventually would form our moon. And as the Earth was starting to cool, and remember the seeds were coming. So the seeds of these elements of life were being introduced in this process that we're in the development of Earth. So eventually it cooled down, it became water. The land itself was forming, but it was really dominantly water in the beginning. Then later on, it was the oxygen in the air, cooling it down, creating atmosphere, and all those elements was forming into what we see today. Because then life happened, animals happened, plants happened, everything started to exist, and everything that exists is Manitou. Everything is Manitou is life itself. So even as the Earth evolves and evolves in different stages, so there was a lot of what they call Earth changes that were natural, and maybe some will say unnatural. If you look at ancient history, like Lemera or Mu or Atlantis, they created some destructions along the way. Anyway, we may explore that later on. Next. So the seeds of life, they're all coming. They're all coming from all over. And this is one of those teachings that was shared in terms of they became the life forms. They became the land itself. They became the rocks. They became the plants. They became the trees. They became the animals. And as they are getting into their purpose and why they're there on the earth, they were told there's going to be another coming. And as I pound this drum, it's basically it's like a download, or information was coming forward and saying there's someone or something's coming. As they sit and get more information with each other, they had a grand council. And once in a while they hear the beat. They talk about there's going to be something called the human being. They're going to join us. And they're going to be pitiful. And we'll have to look after them. So the land itself and the rocks were saying among themselves, the mineral world was saying, we'll give them land, we'll give them means of shelter, we'll give them, means of healing themselves. So there was a whole list of what they're going to share. Meanwhile, this sound kept coming closer and closer, and it was getting louder as they talk. Then you got the plant world that says, they're going to have to, we have to look after them. They're going to get sick. We're going to teach them. We're also going to feed them. They need that energy from us. And that brought in the animals. The animal says, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to be their teachers. We're going to feed them. We're going to help them along the way. And then you got the tree world, shelters, and some of them got together and says, if we work together, we can become instruments, tools, like a pipe, like a drum. And they keep hearing this sound coming closer and closer and closer and closer. We are all one. We all have purpose. And the ones that are coming are going to be part of this. Just like the drum has purpose. It has the tree, it has the hide of an animal, you know. But there's gonna be all kinds of purpose. And the human beings will need us to learn that we are all one, that we all have the same beat. We're all made from vibrations and frequency. But they also said that when they come, we have to keep reminding them why they're here. Because if they forget, they'll be in trouble. So we have to be patient with them. But to remind them that we're all part of creation. And they're going to forget. They're going to get stuck. But through ceremonies and songs and reminder why we're all sharing this planet, we're going to find ourselves again. Next. So these four elements of life, everything on earth is teaching, and the Creator wanted that understanding, that learning, because all of creation is always about learning the lessons, growth, evolving. And the Creator wanted that diversity. He wanted that diversity of learning. So if you go back to the darkness and light, there's no good and evil in this story. Everything has purpose. Life is challenging. This earth itself is very challenging. It's not an easy place to be. But this is where the Creator wanted that diversity. He made everything so diverse, different locations, different environments, and all kinds of different animals, plants, and so forth. So eventually the human being will be just as diverse. But they would have in them the grand purpose of creation, which is they're part of the soul, or the source, I should say, the source of all creation. And that's going to be part 2 of my teaching, is the human being shows up. But this was all created in anticipation in the evolution of life. So you can jump into being a human being, a spirit, a soul, and to come to the earth. But everything evolves even from water, or the land, or the air, the wind, the fire itself. The planet has spirit. So as you go through this journey, you can start off on being a flower, being a squirrel, bringing an animush, your dog, your pet, your cat. And then there's a time to say, I'm ready now to be a human being. But that, I'm getting ahead of myself. That's the mystery of it all. But the 4 elements of life is always present, because we are made up from the same source of everything. Everything that was in the universe, everything that's from the galaxies, the Milky Way, the stars, all that, planets and everything on this earth, we are still part of it. We are the star people. And as Anishinaabe means we came from above to be lowered to this journey. Now there's a lot of debate in terms of what exactly does Anishinaabe really means. But we came from the source. We are the spark of life, and we're here to have purpose. And I think that is next. Let me just check. Back up, Jody. There you go. This is where I'm going to leave it, because now I would get into the next story in terms of the spark was planted, was seeded to join into the creation of the earth and everything in it. And that is introducing the human being, the human journey. So this is part 1. Anyway,
Yawa, that was so good. Like I'm doing a little excited stretch yawn, body yawn. I'm so grateful for you, just to say, in our relationship, and just acknowledging your beautiful comments about grandmother's voice and the support that you receive from us, like our collective. And the vision of this came from the grandmothers and I, traveling when they brought me to the homelands of my ancestors, and we did ceremony, and they shared so many stories about what our world could be if the people came together and understood our individual responsibility to ourself first. And you spoke about the veil, and everything that you spoke about, I couldn't help but think of and feel the connection to where we are today in society. And when you said lifting the veil, I felt like it was this whole idea of lifting the veil. And I said it, I think I've said it to you before, about moving the curtain like Wizard of Oz. Like, I feel like that's what happened when we started to talk about, as a society, colonialism. And so that's what I saw when you said this, lifting the veil. And it was like colonialism is telling us, like, that's what was taken. That's what was taken. We were individually taken, separated, divided, that whole divide and conquer. And so, I mean, I just had when you said downloads, I was like, ooh, and my medicine got wafty, and there was just so much excitement in this conversation. All of the sparks felt like it was like that fire within me. So I'm so excited for this program. This was in partnership. It's one of the first grants that Grandmother's Voice has applied for through the federal government, which was our seniors grant. I'm not really good with the language around that, but it was enough for us to do this program and really engage the elders and the seniors and all of those who are interested in understanding from a perspective of science, maybe spirituality, like all of that essence. And I wanted to just also mention the duality that you spoke about, and that, the two-row wampum, that Grandmother's Voice really leads, like, that's what guides our work. And really understanding that creation was about living in balance. And Grandmother Renee, I think if I would say anything about what the grandmas have taught me, is that returning back to the land and returning back to the natural world and mimicking what we see out there in ourselves. So this is what excites me about this program, is that you'll share it from an Anishinaabe perspective and everything that you know and have lived. And so I'm very grateful for this opportunity to sit with you, and thankful that we were able to have some support for this, and thankful to all of our volunteers and the people who continue to support the work that Grandmother's Voice does. This is about collectiveness and not about individualism. We'd never be able to do this if we didn't have each other. So Nyawa, for everyone that's watching and continues to watch and share this with your friends and family, organizations. Watch for the things that are coming, and prepare for National Indigenous History Month, which is coming in the month of June. And remember that we celebrate each other every day, and not just on June 21st. So, yeah, do you have closing words, Alan?
Oh, I do come to mind that I would have said a lot more about. I will at this. I'll leave this quick teaching. The spark of life. We come from the source of that fire. That we call it energy, but that's the source of everything. So the fire is our fire here is that sun of ours, the sun. Ki is this. The other fire is Aki, the fire of the earth. We're connected to that, both heaven and earth. The other fire is us, our heart, Ode. That's the other fire, us. And the fourth fire is our ceremonies, is what we do. So that's part of creation. That's part of our empowerment. So I'll close it off with a when we close off ceremony, we say from our heart and we wave our palm up to everybody that's present. Akana Danawe Maganak, all my relations, miigwech. Thank you.
Miigwech. Yawa. We'll see you next time.
Next time.
Ona.